Right. Got it. And we are live, Barry.
Excellent.
Just going to do this. And then I need to minimize. I need to get off that screen. I need to go to here. Cool. Oh, we're live, Barry. We're currently live.
Exciting.
I know. I'm excited. Let's see if anyone actually tunes in.
Yeah, be quite boring if not.
I think there's a good chance we might get a couple, but I am going to now get the link from here, keep a monitor on the live chat, send it out to as many people as I can do, because it's always fun to do. And send. Cool. And I'm just going to do this. Live chat. Cool. We will see if we get anybody putting some live chat in. So for YouTube watchers, you've just listened to me waffle on for a period of time. So this will all go and be saved onto YouTube. What I am going to do now is start the recording of the episode for podcast listeners. So hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show podcast. I'm your host, the so-called self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex. And joining me today initially is Barry Stokes. Scott Williams will be joining us in a little bit after he's had a shower and eaten some food after his five-a-side football team successfully won 10-4. So well done, boys. And,
up the Cosmo.
Up the Cosmos. Or the watch me chip, watch me nay nay, as they are currently called.
Oh,
I know. That's the new team name, Barry. And chance here for Gundogan, and save Lloris, goal for Man City. What a start for the live stream, and it's Julian Alvarez with the goals. I know, straight in there. Alvarez 2-1.
I'll watch on catch up then. Since
what are you actually watching it on at the moment?
On Sky Go.
So have they kicked off the second half yet?
Yeah, 49-55 I'm on.
Oh, well, he scored about 51 minutes, bang on, just about.
2 minutes, 2 minutes behind, lagging.
The important thing for the FPL community is it looks like there was no assist, definitely not for Haaland for the triple captains. Grealish tried to swing for it, but then Lloris did his usual flap. Alvarez has been quite impressive in this game, actually. So I think he's done really, really well. So thank you ever so much for everyone for tuning in. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel on the podcast YouTube channel, and also follow us on our social media platforms, All in Football Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And then subscribe where you get your podcast from, Spotify, etc. So I have got, we've already got someone in the live chat, Barry, and of course it's the guy who's on for Manager of the Week this week. I'm getting there, Cully. Relax, calm yourself down, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You're already Manager of the Week because you went for more United attackers than anybody else. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. The admin to start with is to just wrap up that Dan Clark, who was on last week, and thank you ever so much once again, Dan, for joining us, did quite comfortably win Manager of the Week because nothing crazy happened in that Chelsea-Fulham game with 97 points.
It was second, Alex.
Was it you? Was it actually? Because I didn't check that. Was it you? How many points did you end up getting?
78, I think.
So, yeah, Dan won by an absolute mile in the end. So, onto this week so far. It's been let's just say it's been quite a. Oh, and it's 2-2. Is that Haaland? Haaland has scored. Oh dear. Oh, that's very, very, very good for everyone that captained him and the triple captain chip. It's not quite paid off yet, but any more returns, and I think it will do. Yeah. Any assist on this one?
Has Kane been announced for the assist for Royale's goal?
Don't think so. Check on Twitter though. Mahrez with the header cross. So well done, Mahrez, with the assist. And Haaland looks like he was just onside, but yeah, it was always going. Oh, we've got Scotty joining, as if he's missed the first nearly 10 minutes of the first half.
Missed 2 goals. Stay away. Stay away. There's more goals.
There have been 4 goals. 4 goals in the last 6 minutes of this game, or whatever. No, 6 minutes, 10 minutes of this game. It's been ridiculous. Oh, here he is, Scott. Have you just decided to tune in at 2-2? Have you?
The old Desmond. Yeah, Haaland. That's a nightmare, isn't it, for me and you, Al?
Yeah, disaster. We went for the nice differential of the Rashford one, but at the end of the day, at the moment, it's evened itself out. But
we've got
plenty
cherries,
of time left.
We've got cherries, mate. That's right, haven't we? All these people just playing it safe. We've got cherries.
In terms of the overall rank as well, because there's so many people triple captained Haaland this week. Every goal he scores, even if you've captained him, it still doesn't do you any favours in your overall rank. They're having more chances. City have come out in the second half, and they're just a different team. I know, Lloris. Yeah, well done to Haaland. Gavin Webb asks, Rexy, why do you call yourself the guru? Is it ironic? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And just because you've got better history than me, Gav, all right, mate, calm yourself down. It'll be 100 odd now for Cully, will it? Okay. Did he get the second assist, Gav? Kane, did he? Oh, that's good. But also a little bit spawny for Kane owners, but I will take it. Yeah, so let's move on to this week so far, and obviously we're on the last game. Not quite 100 points yet, Cully, but 96 points for you so far. You are quite comfortably the manager of the week at the moment, and it looks like it's not going to change. Kepa in goal, White, Shaw, Trippier, Rashford, Fernandes with 19. We need to talk about Bruno Fernandes this week. So we don't talk about Bruno. We need to talk about Bruno this week. Whoa, Mahrez.
You'll see that in about 2 minutes, Baz.
Yeah.
Cheers, thanks.
Oh, dear. Is it? Yes, Kane confirmed assist. Thanks, Gaff. Thanks.
Yeah, I can say I've got it here. I've got 64 points as it stands at the moment.
But Almiron with 3, Ødegaard 9, Mahrez only with 2. Surely he's got this must need updating. So he definitely got the assist there. Yeah, 99. Yeah, Mahrez with 5 points, Kane with 6, and Haaland with 14. So
can I just say, and just looking at this team, not knowing who this Cully guy is, I'm assuming he's Man United fan.
No, Liverpool.
He really
doing well.
Cheers, Baz. Let me know that.
Yeah, Cully's a really big fan of United, Arsenal, Newcastle, City. The teams that are all doing better than his, really. Yeah. To be fair. So I don't blame him for that. But what we'll be doing this week, whilst we are watching the game and enjoying it, because what a game it is to be watching as well, is we're going to have a look at the fixtures moving forward and discuss the teams basically that we'll all be interested in buying players from. Have a look at some certain permutations of what might happen. And yeah, just getting stuck into that. I want to also get your guys' opinions on the January transfer window so far. A couple of recent signings as well, and we're going to look at a bit of. We're going to start though by looking at form since the World Cup. How exciting! So this is before United drew yesterday, annoyingly. So this is the form table since the World Cup. So the four league matches. And we've still got Bournemouth down here at the bottom with 4 losses. Who's injured here? Oh, Kulu's down. Bournemouth with 4 losses. Leicester with 4 losses. Then we've got West Ham with 3 losses and a draw, which must be worrying for David Moyes. But they did sign Danny Ings today, so that's hopefully going to buy them some goals. I think it's a fantastic signing, actually. When they play every week, does it make him a fantasy option? Maybe. What about Ollie Watkins? Does it make him more of a fantasy option under Emery? Who knows? But still, those are things to watch this space on. But Everton with, again, only 1 point. Leeds with 2 points. I feel like Leeds should have more than 2 points, weirdly, because everyone's been talking about some of their assets, and they are a team we're going to have to look at moving forward. Liverpool in 12th, Cully. Spurs 13th. That'll change after tonight. But then we've got the teams at the top, the ones that we should all really be investing in. Man United, Arsenal, and it's Brentford and Brighton as the next 2, which are teams, again, we're going to review. Fulham in 5th, Newcastle 6th, and Man City 7th, but still could win this game. Still could win this game. Plenty of time left in it, and they look like they're absolutely peppering them at this very moment in time. And Chelsea still with their intermittent form. So let's see how that relates to the fixtures and the fixture ticker. So what we're looking at now is 21 through to 27, and Arsenal are top of the ticker according to Fantasy Football Hub. Man City second. They are heavily biased because they're the only teams here with confirmed double game weeks, and we'll look at potential double game weeks in a second. But Leeds in third, Brighton in fourth, and then we've got Spurs, Man United, and West Ham, and so forth. Let's start off by
chance.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, chance here. Sorry, yeah, here we go. Oh, it's got to be
goal. Perisic.
Is it the post or the bar? Was that? Oh,
yeah,
my God.
Edison's put it on the bar.
What a spot save. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Has Haaland scored yet, Baz?
No, it's 58 minutes I'm on. So,
wow, that was a real chance for Spurs. What a good game this is.
Perisic.
But so we'll start by looking at the potential double game weeks, then we'll get into the team by team. So what's in front of everyone right now is the great man, Ben Crellin, his spreadsheet. This is the time of year when Ben comes into his own. If you don't follow him on Twitter, and I've said it before a million times on this channel, follow Ben Crellin, because he will give you the updates on the odds and the statistics of potential double game weeks. And if you don't follow him, you are actually costing yourself points in FPL. It really helps with planning. So you can see here game week 20 that's live. Then we've got game week 21, which is followed by the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup and the fourth round of the FA Cup. Then we get into game week 22. Now, rumour has it that Manchester United are relatively nailed on to have a double game week in game week 22. Now, the reason for that is they've got their game against Leeds that needs to be rescheduled. They are the favourites for the semi-final match against Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup, but we have to assume they're going to win that in terms of the scheduling of the fixtures, or the Premier League do. So they have no free midweek here. They have no free midweek the weeks after because they're playing Barcelona. Then the fifth round of the FA Cup. Then it's potentially the last 16 of Europa. The next free midweek they would have is game week 29. But if they make the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, game week 29 will be taken up anyway. Provisionally, if they get to the latter stages of the tournaments that they're involved in, they'll have 4 scheduled fixtures to reschedule and only 3 future midweeks after game week 22 to do them in. So realistically, it's very likely Man United are going to have a double game week in game week 22, either against Leeds or Brentford. And it'll be 2 home fixtures. So if they've got Crystal Palace and Leeds at home, anyone who's not used their triple captain will almost certainly be considering the option of using it on Rashford that week, I'd have thought. Or maybe Bruno. Let's start with Man United, shall we? Let's do it. Let's look at their options. What do you think about Bruno then, Baz? Talk to me, because I've done a lot of talking so far.
Well, everyone says he's a better player without Ronaldo in the team, and 100%, he's the talisman. Everything comes through him. And I think he's got the protection there of Casemiro as well. He's the one-man holding midfielder. Unfortunately, he got booked. So, obviously, it's going to be a big loss in the Arsenal game. But I think that's the protection. So I don't think Bruno will have a big impact on the Arsenal game, as he has been doing, because obviously Casemiro is like the human shield. So that's my thoughts on Bruno in the next fixture coming up. But yeah, he's definitely, we need to talk about him, put it that way.
Yeah. So in terms of points since the restart, so Rashford's got 39, Shaw 36, and then Bruno 34. They're quite clearly the 3 most the 3 highest scoring Manchester United assets. And another chance here. Goal, Mahrez.
Oh, Mahrez.
Oh,
that's a great finish.
It's
gone right through Hugo Lloris.
I tell you what, Cully, right now, you are in dreamland. You took the gamble on the Fernandes and Mahrez bringing in this week, and it has paid off big time. Fair play. I called it as soon as I saw the transfers, lads, didn't I? When I was looking through them this week, I went, do you know what? Who's up chased the upside here is those two picks. And wow, brilliant. Who was the assist? Sorry, Scott, I didn't see.
Haaland, I think.
Was it Haaland crossfield?
Let's have a look.
Then I'll see in 2 minutes.
Oh, Hugo Lloris, man, you're getting beat at your near post though. Anyone?
Oh no, it's Rodri.
Rodri assist.
Yeah.
I was going to say it. Ball came from quite far behind. Unbelievable though. Nice one. So
don't know who he's shushing there though.
Really do I?
He was giving him grief. He's a right form.
I know. He's the form star. But we'll get to City in a minute, right? It's throwing me off how good this game is. It's putting me up, making me not concentrate enough on the pod. So Rashford right up there. Bruno Fernandes has to be considered. So if you have a look at his expected goal involvements, he's top out of all of the Manchester United players in those game weeks. In terms of key passes, everything goes to him. He's double next. Big chances created, he's double next. In terms of expected assists, he's 3.14 in 5 matches compared to the Casemiro and Eriksen, and the next one's down. Bruno is noticeably, when you watch the games, as well as statistically, is becoming an option that we let's not forget his previous. Without Ronaldo in the team playing in this role, I do agree with what you're saying about Casemiro, Baz. Though, I wouldn't be talking about bringing him in for this week against Arsenal, but for future game weeks, especially that double game week, he's got to be someone to consider. Scott, your thoughts on United?
I mean, I listened to the podcast last week, and it was obviously one of those. It's tricky to get him with his price point, but I think you're looking at him. He's playing that well again. That he's playing better than Kevin De Bruyne, who a lot of people have got in the team, who's not even starting tonight. So if you're just going to go by form and not by, the fear that KDB will turn it on, I think you could quite comfortably get Kevin De Bruyne out of your team and get Bruno Fernandes in. I think that would be not a bad shout at all.
Especially after he's been dropped tonight. But KDB, I think, said it was a personal issue. But
especially with Man United, with Rashford being a midfielder, I think it's easier to get another midfielder in for Man U. Whereas, because no one's going to put Weghorst in or Martial really at this point. So you've got your 2 midfielders where you don't obviously need as many returns to get points, because obviously you get more points for goals and assists for midfielders. Whereas if when you double up on City, you need Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne to both maybe get a goal and assist sort of each kind of thing, or a couple of assists. And the way Man United are looking at the back, I mean, it took a worldy goal for them to lose a clean sheet. And you look at the clean sheet they've kept since the World Cup, and maybe a couple of games before, they're looking really solid at the back, really good. So I think most people will have maybe a defensive asset and then maybe a couple of midfielders.
They have only conceded, other than obviously that Palace goal before that game, they only conceded the Grealish header and that Palace worldie. So they conceded 1 goal to Man City and then a worldie free kick in 5 matches, and they've scored 10 goals. So yeah, no, I do agree. Got to get everyone's opinions on the Bruno goal though in the Manchester derby. Obviously, I am horrendously biased, so I try not to be. I try to look at it subjectively, but anyone in the chat as well. We've got a few people watching at the moment. Let us know what you think about the offside or not offside. But either of you lads got a take on it, an opinion on the situation? Should it have counted or
not?
Offside.
I don't think it would. If you're who's chasing them, Ake? Akenji? No, Akenji, wasn't it? Yeah, if you're him, you've just got to look at it like if Rashford's not there, he's probably doing some kind of slide to get the ball. Do you know what I mean? And try and it's obviously it's put Ederson off. You can see Ederson's looking at Rashford and shaping up for that shot. So I guess it's probably technically a goal from what they've said, but yeah, you've got it's like Lineker said, you can't say he's not interfering there.
I was gonna say he runs to the ball, so technically he's interfering because he changes everyone's positions. So if he stood still, then yeah, I'd give the goal, but he doesn't. He runs with the he runs towards the ball, and that to me is clearly he's going to play the ball, and then he realizes he's offside, and then Bruno slips it in. I don't know how it was given, but no, it's obviously the laws and all this, but you need. I've been saying it for ages since VAR came in. You need people with experience who's played the game to understand it and give Howard Webb a guidance in how the players are and how it should be. But I don't think that's going to probably get done. So
I kind of disagree, because we've all played the game, Baz. I don't think you need to have played the game at the highest level. I think you just need a bit of, like you say, common sense, and none of us have been professional footballers, but yet we all know what it is, sort of thing. I'm guessing
they'll probably respect the decision of a well-known player than us three. Unless they're regular listeners to the podcast, then
I can't see Jack Grealish. Sorry, he's just on the ball now. I can't see Jack Grealish, who's on like 300k a week, retiring and going, do you know what? I'm going to work in VAR.
It's I've got to say that I think the important thing about what we're talking about there, though, is that the decision didn't go to VAR. Like for the goal, it didn't go. It was an on-field referee decision. So the referee gave the goal because obviously Bruno was quite clearly not offside, and the referee made the decision that Rashford wasn't interfering with play significantly enough to change Akanji's position or body position or whatever else it was, and also he didn't touch the ball. So like. Yeah, I at the time I was watching it and I thought that's a goal. That's definitely a goal. It's got to be a goal.
I would just say as well that linesman is honestly, he looks so adorable. It looks like you'd have a lovely like cup of tea with him, doesn't he? Like a little bit older. It looks really sweet. Like you could go around to his on a Friday night, fish and chips, cup of tea, and just I don't know, watch Come Dine With Me or something.
Yeah, so, Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
Not that far, Baz.
Don't know. It sounds like he's in love, but it sounds
he would look after me. These linesmen are on a lot of wedge, aren't they? So
my take on it though is that I think Akanji's. I actually don't think it affects Akanji that much. I saw this one of the worst bits of punditry I've ever seen in my life on Ref Watch on Sky Sports News. It was horrendous. They did a still of the ball going across the front of Akanji, and they took Rashford out of the picture, and they stopped it when the ball was like directly in line in front of Akanji, and they were like, "Look, the ball was in front of him. He definitely could have played it." I'm like, do you know how fast that ball was traveling into the space behind him? And if you could work out the angle, Bruno wasn't close between Bruno and Akanji. Bruno was miles ahead of it. Bruno was miles ahead of it. But yeah, for me, it's on reflection when I've calmed down a bit. It definitely should have been offside. But for me, it's more the Edison situation rather than Akanji. Edison is obviously put off. Because Rashford, you remember the Villa Leeds game when Leeds scored that goal and then they had to give the 3-1 back. And was it? And Bielsa was like, let them score. And actually, there was nothing wrong with the goal. But it was the
Janssen tried to stop it.
Yeah, I love Pontus Janssen for that a little bit. I can't lie. Because I was at the game as well, and I was like, "Go on, Janssen, stop him!" I was with Chris Clegg in the South Stand. It was going nuts in there. But but it was the fact. I think it might have been Harrison that then passed the ball to Click. It might have been whoever was on the left hand side. But he kind of stopped and then started again, and that motion, that stop-start for me, made it that they shouldn't have scored the goal. Whereas if it had just carried on playing, it would have been fine. It's like what you say about Rashford. For me, if Rashford had never done that sort of stutter to get to the ball and try and do some, then it should have been a goal. But Rashford almost went to kick it and stopped, which then knocked Edison off. But anyway, whatever. But I think it was just a pretty interesting debate. But the law has made it difficult. Gav says it's offside. Fair enough. Proud of Scott for putting his United head aside and being non-biased for the offside. Cully. Whoa. giving you a compliment, Scott.
We still won, didn't we? 3 points. Come on, United.
Why did Scunny win?
No, mate, we're going to be out of business soon, so I need an actual football club too raw, mate. It's too raw.
But we'll. But in terms of United assets, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to worry about moving for them this week. Obviously, with Arsenal being the game, but then they have got it's Crystal Palace again, and then potentially 2 games against Leeds, and then Leicester. Game week 20. Here we go. Chance for Spurs.
Oh
no, they kind of messed it up.
Yeah, it was that ball that should have gone to Kulusevski.
It's game week 25 that's interesting. So if you look at Ben Crellin's ticker here, game week 25, Manchester United are playing Brentford, and there's a chance they make the final. So that might be a blank then. So we've got to pay attention to this, because there's a chance that Man United, Brentford, Newcastle, and Brighton, if it goes to form over 2 legs and to the odds and this, that, and the other, there's a chance that those 4 teams will blank in game week 25. And everyone's got probably 2 Newcastle assets and 2 Man United assets at least. And a lot of people this week have been discussing going for a Brighton asset because they're on great form and they're really reasonably priced, and their run of fixtures is good. So it's just, for example, I've got 3 United, 2 Newcastle. And if I bring a Brighton player in, I might have 6 players that are going to blank in 25. So it's I don't think that's actually that much of a problem, but I just need to plan it'll dictate what I'm going to do a little bit with my transfers moving forward. You just got to. How many United and Newcastle players have you got, Baz, in your team?
5.
Scotty?
3 of each.
3 of each. And that's the thing. So if you brought in a Brighton player this week, you'd have 7 players that are potentially going to blank in game week 25. And you've only got 22, 23, 24. You've got 4 free transfers. Basically, all of your free transfers, you're either going to field less than 11 players, or all of your free transfers are going to have that in mind. If you went for a Brighton asset this week to top, that's it's just something to think about for people.
Finally got the double or potential triple game week. When's that again? Just to remind people, listeners.
Well, it was supposed to be game week 21, but they haven't had anything announced. Brighton, they've still got Bournemouth and Palace to fit in. But the thing is about Brighton, Bournemouth, and Palace is they've obviously relaxed about them a little bit because none of them are in Europe, so they can fit them in further down the line. But anyway, that's what they've ended up deciding to do. But I thought they'd have stuck one of them in. I thought Brighton would have had a double game week in 21, but they'd have had to have announced it by now.
Clearly, yeah.
And they haven't. So by the sound of it, it's interesting. Scott, sorry, go on.
Quick question. Not really related to anything you've just been talking about.
Oh, brilliant! Thanks, Scott. Then I'm trying to stay on topic so hard whilst watching this as well.
No. So
I'm checking the chat.
So let's pretend I've got 3 Arsenal assets in. Which do I? Well, I might have. A lot of people have 3 Arsenal assets. What happens if you get Trossard in and he goes to, because he looks like he's heavily linked with Arsenal? Can you have for that 1 game week 4 Arsenal players?
Yeah, for that 1 game week you can do, and then I think your next transfer you have to transfer one of them out. But you can have 4 Arsenal players.
Yeah, I mean it's not something I'm going to do. I just thought in theory it's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. To be fair, it's something that if it was a positive to do it, and he might stood a chance of playing, then yeah,
it's a good little play for them though. Price point's good. They need that bit of depth, don't they?
Yeah, it's all about the depth in it. He's not going to start in the Prem straight away, but it'd be Europa League stuff. Cully's asked about free hit 25. I will come back to the Man City booing, Cully. I want to talk about City in a bit. But game week 25, free hit, yeah, potentially an option. We've just got to bear in mind that the potential blanks that are going to happen in game week 28 when the quarterfinals happen. So of the FA Cup. So for example, Arsenal play Man City in round 4, which makes it more likely that and also Crystal Palace are out of the FA Cup. So if Arsenal lose, then Arsenal lose to City and Arsenal Palace happens in game week 28. We've got a lot of their assets. Manchester City play West Ham. West Ham are playing Derby, though, in the next one. You right, Scott?
Sorry.
You just panicked. Oh, here he is. Oh my God. Have I seen a ghost?
God, that was frightening.
Here he is. But yeah, so we've got to consider the options of who's going to be playing in game week 28. So if you did want to attack the next few game weeks, get Brighton assets in, you'd be up to 6, 7, maybe even 8 players that aren't going to play in game week 25 potentially. Then you could use your free hit in game week 25, but you would then have to plan for game week 28. And game week 28 is the likelihood is much higher. Hi, Tom. The likelihood is much higher that there's going to be more teams blanking in game week 28. So it may be for 25, but I think it all depends. It all depends on game week 20. But this is one of the keys. I've seen a lot of people on FPL Twitter, a lot of people who are experts or whatever content creators, whatever they want to call themselves, on Twitter, saying this is the week to bank a transfer because we'll have so much more information. We'll know exactly who blanks in game week 25, and we'll know who's into the 5th round of the FA Cup before the game week 22 deadline. So saving a transfer this week and having 2 for game week 22, ideal world, is probably the more positive thing if you're thinking long term over the rest of the season, but it's not quite as fun, is it? But thoughts on that, Baz? Did that all make sense for an example? So I know Scott was too busy getting scared. He probably missed all of that. I'll have to listen back later.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Yeah, perfect sense.
Yeah, do you want to summarise for Scott?
No, it makes unbelievable sense, to be fair. Free hit game week 25.
That's not what I said. Good gamble, though. Good gamble.
Why not? Why not? Differential, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but it's something if you wanted to attack the next few game weeks and the FA Cup games and the Carabao Cup games went against your team. Yeah, it's an option. Game week 25. You're putting together. I mean, Arsenal are playing Leicester at home, or Leicester, sorry, away. So you'd want 3 Arsenal assets almost certainly. Villa are playing Everton. You might want a couple of Villa assets. City play Bournemouth. I mean, that again, you want triple City. So building a team, but and in that game week, you probably Kane plays Chelsea. So you take your 3 Newcastle assets out, your 3 United assets out, your Brighton asset, Harry Kane, or straight away you've already got 8 players that you probably wouldn't want playing in that game week. So yeah, it could end up being quite a high upside to it. Could end up being a high upside. So yes, let's talk about City then, because we're all watching the game. I didn't hear the halftime boos. Callum, yes, banking and transfer is for babies. I didn't hear them booing at halftime.
You can't hear anything, can you, though, at the stadium? There's never any atmosphere.
Must be empty,
There's no one in seats.
No.
But as if City got booed, as if they booed their team. That's how. Again, I'm sorry, I'm really biased. That's how absolutely awful some Man City fans are.
Oh,
and they've become entitled and complacent. Is that on ball? That
there's not enough peeling. I don't think it is. Oh, he looks guilty. He does look very guilty.
Yeah, Richarlison kept his head down there. Yeah, this is a Haaland. This is a penalty.
Haaland penalty. Yeah. Oh, it's a pen.
Oh, it's handball.
It's a pen.
You can't put your arm out like that. It's got to be a penalty.
Yeah, it's a pen.
Oh my God! And it's going to be Haaland pen, isn't it? He's going to take it.
Yeah. We'll do a Mitrovic, just something like that. Screw me even more.
God. You're moaning again, Baz.
What?
You moaning again?
This is a horrible moment for me and you, Scott.
Oh, I'm not giving it. Wow.
How's that not being given? That is, and Pep is rightly livid.
Sorry, like Kyle Walker's coming on. Could have gone goal.
Oh. Rico Lewis has got cramp, bless him.
Why? He's young. Get on with it.
I don't know. It's like 12, isn't he? But it's I can't believe that's not penalty. It's got to be a pen. Brazzy, have you seen it yet?
No, I am on a corner on 81st minute.
Hits the shirt sleeve, so can't be a pen. Well, I wear long sleeves every week then, Cully. Like, stick my arms out. Like, one of the worst rules I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I've seen it then. Yeah, penalty all day long.
You can't put your arm out like that. Anyway, whatever.
Close line the ball.
He does what he needs.
Tell you what, I think he's going to go in goal next week.
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Better than Lloris already. To be fair, it does on one of the replays from behind. It does look like it's his shoulder blade. So,
well, obviously not clear and obvious, then, is it? But Manchester City assets. So let's talk about Man City, shall we? Cancelo dropped again today. Seems an easy sell if you have still got him, and it frees up loads of funds for you to be across your teams. If you have got Cancelo, really dead straightforward sell. If we have a look at the points since the restart, Haaland obviously top with 23, and of course he scored again today. Mahrez, now he's played 4 games. He's had one of them as a substitute appearance. He's now played 5 games. He's scored another goal, so that's 2 goals and 2 assists. Anyone fancy? And Grealish is obviously Mahrez, Grealish, and Haaland is obvious preferred front 3. It seems to me. So, anyone fancy a flutter on either of them too? Mahrez and Grealish, 6.8 million for Jack, 7.5 for Riyadh.
I said last week about Mahrez, didn't I? So,
what you think? Is he still?
To be honest, De Bruyne has been benched, but obviously personal reasons. I've got 2 free transfers. Tempted. I've got a few potentials I could go for, but
sorry, De Bruyne's been benched for personal reasons.
Apparently so, yeah.
So I'm sorry. You either can play a game of football or just leave him out of the squad. Why is he can't be like
he missed training yesterday, didn't he?
I don't care. That's ridiculous. What an awful decision. And just
doesn't really matter at the moment. They're 3-2 up, so
yeah, no.
And Haaland. Oh, I think that looked like a good tackle to me, but I got the last one wrong. So
I think on the eye test, I do like a bit of Riyad Mahrez. Yeah,
back to his old Leicester ways.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Very, very, very true from Callum. I imagine anyone with Cancelo still has Salah. Well, I have Cancelo, but I did get rid of Salah. People are still discussing Liverpool assets at the moment. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Chelsea in the next game, then Wolves are a bit of a revival. If you have a look at Wolves, they are mid-table under Lopetegui since the restart. So the games aren't as easy. You want to be targeting games against Bournemouth, Leicester, West Ham, and Everton, and also Leeds as well at the moment. Scott, your opinion on the defence for Manchester City? Ederson with.
Yeah, I agree with what I said like 4 weeks ago. They don't look like good at the back, and you're only putting in a defensive asset for the attacking returns. I think you're better off looking elsewhere. Looking at Arsenal look solid at the back, Man United look solid at the back. Looking at those, obviously Newcastle do. Those sort of teams for me. And Brentford, I looked at them the other day. That they're decent at the back. Those sort of teams over Man City. I think now Cancelo's gone off the boil a bit, unless you want the cheap option of like a Rico Lewis. But again, do you really want to waste your 3 options on there? You're going to have Haaland in. You're probably going to have De Bruyne, Grealish, Mahrez, one of them in. I think you could look elsewhere. To be honest with you, it's too much rotation risk as well.
It's really interesting, actually, isn't it? Like when you look at the fixtures, because Wolves is still a good game at home. Spurs away, fine. I think we're looking at this sort of game again at the White Hart Lane, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Still White Hart Lane, isn't it? And then they've got a double game week. Villa at home and then Arsenal away. Massive game between house away. And they've got Forest and Bournemouth, the 2 after. I feel like I want 3 City players, but right now I don't know which 3 I want, and that's I just find it quite tricky. Obviously, Haaland for all the obvious reasons. I've got Haaland, De Bruyne, and Cancelo. I feel like this week I'm just going to end up taking out Cancelo and just keeping 2 for now.
I will say as well, like Haaland's got a tap in tonight. I know he just needs 1 chance to score, but he hasn't looked any good for a good couple of weeks now.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's just
you can't drop him. It's like when Salah was hitting figures, you can't drop him because it's too much of a risk, isn't it? So.
I'm not talking about dropping him though, but we'll look at the fixtures in a bit. But for game week 21, Wolves at home. I mean, there's just no other options. Like you just got to captain him really that week, haven't you? Like United play Arsenal, Spurs play Fulham, and Fulham are in form, so that's not an easy game. Do you captain like Solly March against Leicester? I mean, Leicester have been terrible, and March is the informed player of the league in fantasy points. Like, really. But if
you're going City, but I don't think over. We're such a last couple of games, world, aren't we, that we live in. You wouldn't be too crazy, I don't think, to now captain Mahrez.
No, true. And it doesn't seem like he's getting dropped, does it?
And what we've said in the past as well, we like to captain people that excite you. Like Alan's good, but he doesn't have many touches in the game, whereas Mahrez is obviously always on the ball. So
my Kane, square it. Oh, good hands by Edison. Woo. Yeah,
Kane square it sounds like what thingy again.
Thingy.
Yeah, Sterling's there, isn't he? For tapping.
No, oh God, no! Don't. Let's not talk about Raheem. So let's then move on to another team that everyone's talking about at the moment, and that is Brighton. Brighton assets. We've completely flipped from talking about attackers to defenders, and I said not to think about them too much last week, and then they battered Liverpool. So we've got to think about these guys now, haven't we? Really, and looking at the points. Everyone's talking about Matoma, and I'm talking about Matoma as well. I think the eye test, when you look at...
Oh, Mahrez is in. That's awful defending.
Got to score.
He has done. Yeah, Mahrez in next week.
What a finish. Cully's in dreamland, and I am for my draft team. That's... What was who was the assist?
I mean...
I think it might have been Haaland, Let's have a look.
Is it Edison?
Oh my God. Was it an Edison assist?
It's an Edison assist.
It's Edison assist.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone who's got Edison has just had a little breather there, haven't they? Oh dear. He always gets an assist a season, doesn't he?
Awful by a long way. Awful by a long way.
I've just praised you, Cully. Calm yourself down, lad, in the chat. Yeah, incredible. Love it. Love the picks. The gamble's paid off. Lovely. And he's absolutely nailed at the moment in this team. So yeah. But everyone's talking about Matoma for Brighton. Solly March has got double his score. And I don't know why. And his XGI has been in the highest. He's played more key passes than everyone other than Pascal Gross. And with that, he's created more big chances. It's got to be Solly March we pick, isn't it? Or is it Matoma? Lads, Brighton, discuss.
Haaland's off. I don't. For me, do you know what it is? Matoma's new to the league. He's exciting, and is was he Japanese?
Yeah,
I think that just excites people more than Solly March. Genuinely, and then I think we've looked at Solly March, and he's done very Solly March things down the years. He has 1 or 2 games. There's lots of fantasy players like that, isn't there? Whereas I think every time I looked at Brighton, Matoma's looked really, really solid. I think long term, over the course of a season, I would say Matoma would score more fantasy points.
Well, Matoma's at 5 million. Solly March is 5.1. There's one, he's 0.1 cheaper. His expected goal involvement in the last 4 games is 2.8, and March's is 3.1. Like March is like overperforming his goal involvements by double, and Matoma is hitting his 3 goal involvements and his 2.8 is his statistics. Mahrez in. Come on, why has he played it that way?
It's in for his hat trick, He's going to score it somehow, I think.
He had to play Mahrez in there, surely. Why did he play Alvarez in? Grealish made a big mistake there. So statistically speaking as well, and also on the eye test, I feel like Matoma's better. Barry, sorry, you talk. Tell us what do you think? Too busy watching the game. It's 4-2. What a game!
Right, me for March. He's looked so much attacking wise under De Zerbi than he did under Potter. Potter was more of a wing back, defensive minded wing back, whereas now he's actually getting forward and actually adding goals to his game. And yeah, I do agree with Scott. I'd rather have Matoma over March, but he's obviously in form at the moment. Well, most of Brighton players are, to be honest. But yeah, I wouldn't obviously have him. I'd have Matoma probably and Ferguson as a cheap forward. The only downside to that is obviously Welbeck's back and he scored, didn't he? He came on and scored. So, Yeah, but if it's worth a punt, what's the ownership of them? Have we got that at all?
Let's get it. Let's have a look.
Because they're not going to be massively owned anyway, so they're both going to be, well, even potentially all three of them going to be a differential. I think Ferguson's probably going to be the most owned because his price, and he's a forward at 4.5, so you can build a team around it. But
yeah, I mean, March is 3.5 in terms of teams selected by. Mitoma is even less.
Wow, I'm shocked on that one.
March is 1.7 for Mitoma, Ferguson at 1.4. Sanchez and Gross, because obviously at the beginning of the season, Gross and Trossard's form. And then Dunk always gets into teams, doesn't he? Somehow, because he's just had good history, but this season it's
scores the odd few goal, doesn't he?
Yeah, just in that Brighton defence at the moment, really. But again, they're just hit and miss. They're just better defenders. You can double up on Newcastle and whatever for cheaper. But yeah, March at 3.5 and Mitoma at 1.7. I think Mitoma's had more shots in the box, and it's the statistics are there and the eye test for me as well as there. But double his points, guys.
Look at that form, 11.
It's
March.
It's absolutely insane how many points he's got. So can it carry on? Probably not. But yeah, Mitoma versus March is a genuine game over. Is it Mitoma versus March is a genuine decision? I think a lot of people will be trying to make this week. And for me, I'm going to go Mitoma over March, but I can see. Is it biased because Solly March is boring? No, it's got like really. I think you've got a point, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, like Mitoma is such a cool name. And Solly March is really boring.
We're not picking Grand National winners, Scott.
We are. That's what we do with these players. Solly March is going to blank the next 4 game weeks, guaranteed.
Okay, yeah. Like that.
He'll do a Zaha, won't he?
Yeah.
Be on form, and then you'll not see him for about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Now I know we'll talk about Leeds now because their fixtures do look very good, and they might have a double game week against Man United as well to throw in for an extra fixture. We've got Nonto as another forward, 5 million, 4 appearances, 1 goal in his last, obviously 4 appearances. But then he has looked very good when you've watched him play. I think if he was 4.5, I think a lot more people would be considering him.
I think if he was a midfielder where he should be in, because he plays as a winger, everyone would have him in the team.
Yeah, 4 point. Well, he looks a lot better. But Rodrigo, as well as he is a midfielder, 6.4. Similar statistics and similar numbers. Is Bamford back going to affect us? I mean, are we considering any Leeds options at the moment, guys? I think that's one of the biggest
so for me.
Notto for me.
Notto and Nonto.
Well, Gary Neville said it, didn't he? He looked like a Man City winger.
Yeah,
he played against Villa.
I just look at who's everyone. You're still not taking Almiron out. I wouldn't have thought. You're going to have a Rashford in there. You're going to have a Man City midfielder in there. I think it's just we've been talking about like a Brighton. You'd rather have a Brighton midfielder in there. Don't get me wrong. I think it looks good, but I think Leeds are not looking great from when I have conversations with Leeds fans as well. As much as they're winning and they've won 5-2. Tom's first words out of his mouth were sack the manager. So yeah,
they do feel incredibly done, don't they? It has to be said. Like everyone's just. Jesse Marsch is just not the flavour of the month, is he, for Leeds fans? Let's be honest. That's just as simple as it gets.
He's done what Moyes did to a lesser extent, isn't it? Man United, you can't follow an absolute god at a club like Bielsa was at Leeds. You've got to hit the ground running, which he didn't do. And yeah, I feel sorry for him. It's be careful what you wish for. He's to keeping them in the league. It's like we've seen this story before. You get rid of managers, you get someone else in, you get relegated before you know it. Another 10 years in the Championship. So if I'm a Leeds fan and my club's a couple of places above the relegation zone, I'm probably going to check myself a little bit and be like, do you know what? It's not the end of the world right now.
It's hopefully for them as well. There's 3 worst teams in the league, but. Yeah, it's difficult. I think for Leeds, Brentford at home isn't a great game, but Forest is a massive game for Leeds, and then they have probably 2 games against United, and then Everton and Southampton. They've got a really good run of fixtures, but they've got 3 massive games in the next 5 game weeks, like big matches. They win all those 3 games, they're miles clear. So they've got to really, they've got to do well in those matches. They're 6 points in essence. Let's move on. We've obviously had a look at Leeds there, and don't forget there's in the chat. If you want to comment on that, that's fine. You mentioned Almiron, and you don't see anyone selling him right now. 1 goal in his last 4 appearances. Only got 16 points. We've got Trippier with 37, Pope, Burn, Botman, Shah, all the defenders getting the big points at Newcastle at the moment. Joe Linton has outscored Almiron. Are we getting a bit too attached to him because of his form, and also because we like the fact that he's done really well because he's stuck 2 fingers up to Jack Grealish? Are we getting a bit too attached to him because actually he scored in the first game back and he's blanked in his last 3? Thoughts?
I think the reason I said that really quickly was I was Crystal Palace. I'm probably going to roll the dice, and you know what? If he doesn't return against Palace, I'm probably then going to be, looking potentially getting, mixing it up a bit and getting one of those, other assets in. What do you think, Baz?
I agree with you, to be honest, Scott. I was going to say, give him 1 more week, and then I was going to look at transferring him out myself. But obviously, Cucurella will probably be over that one since he's shocking. So and then obviously he was going to be Almiron. I was going to get an Arsenal player in. Yeah. But obviously I just shy of missing Odegaard. Just priced out of that one. If I were.
It did look. I thought he played really well. I watched the game. Whether they played last, the one like late on, didn't they? I thought he played well in that game. He did a couple of really nice things and was unlucky. That's why I'm going to give him 1 more. If he was shocking in that, I'd be potentially looking at it now. But yeah, I think he's 1 more week.
They are the only team to not concede a goal since the World Cup, and also they are playing 3 of the bottom 5 teams or bottom 6 teams in form in the league in the next 3 games. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not transferring him out this week. My debate would be to Cancelo out, someone like a Botman in, going double on that Newcastle defence with those fixtures coming up. That saves me £3 million to spend elsewhere in my team, however I want to spend it. So I think that's quite. I think it's relatively obviously the move, but also we've got to remember, if we go heavy on these players, you might have 5, 6, 7 players that might not play in game week 25. Just to come back to that, you've got to have that in your mind. But play the game weeks that are in front of you potentially. It might be worth taking a -4 to then put 11 players out in game week 25. And anyway, that's because that's the thoughts anyway, guys. But double Newcastle defence is where you go, and the attackers haven't really been delivering. Only scored 4 goals in 4 games as well, so starting to show signs of struggling to convert. But and they were lucky in that Fulham game. Let's be honest. Probably should have gone the other way if Mitrovic hadn't slipped over. How did that feel, Baz? Have you still got Mitrovic, Baz?
Yeah, he's coming out this week.
Oh, that was painful for you.
Yeah.
Hasn't he missed like 2 penalties and got suspended in like the last 3 weeks? Something stupid. It's it's been awful to him.
He's got 50% ratio on his penalties. So yeah, not really. He doesn't strike fear into the goalkeeper, really, to be honest.
No. Let's talk about Arsenal, because they are the league leaders. They have a double game week in game week 23. They play in game week 25, and they are the best team in the league. So again, people aren't really going to be transferring them for the Man United game, but for the Everton double game week, both at home, Brentford, Man City, Villa, Leicester, Bournemouth, and then Fulham run of games, I think we're all going to be looking at tripling up on Arsenal when it comes to game week 22. They have been unbelievable this season, by far the best team in the league, by far. Well, they are by far, really, isn't it? And the man who has been delivering is Martin Odegaard, 6.8 million, 11 more points since the restart than Saka, who's got 24, Martinelli with 23, so much of a muchness between those guys. And then you're looking at Ramsdale White, and then Nketiah with 17. So those top three, those midfielders behind the striker, pretty standard. I think, are we looking at maybe having two of those guys in our teams? I think affordability-wise, it might end up being, and also I've already got Martinez, it might end up being Odegaard and Martinelli for me, but lads, are we all basically trying to get Odegaard in before this good run of fixtures?
Yeah, for me, I'm also looking at Zinchenko to replace Cucurella. He looks really good. He's one of them midfielders that wing backs that comes inside as well and builds into the centre midfield area. So he's always going to be in and around the box as such. And I've always liked Zinchenko anyway. It felt a bit hard done at Man City, but I don't feel sorry for him. He's on so much money. So, but I like it. I like him as a player, and I think that's who I'm going to go for. And I'm going to potentially try and get Odegaard in, but I think I'm just going to fall short by a couple of like 300, something like that. So, yeah.
What's thoughts on Nketiah in for Mitrovic? Cully's asked.
Yeah, I think Nketiah's look really good.
Yeah.
Is that potential other route for you, Baz, specifically?
Probably, because I was going to obviously get Kulusevski out and Mitrovic out, put Kevin De Bruyne in, and then go for like a Ferguson or a Nonto or something like that. And then I've got money in the bank to potentially get Cucurella out for the next transfer window, transfer week, and then I was going to get Almiron out and put hopefully get Odegaard in, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, in terms of the numbers, yeah, I want three Arsenal players. I kind of want a piece of the defence and two midfielders. So I don't dislike the transfer of Nketiah in for Mitrovic. I don't dislike that at all, especially if you can't afford it's pretty evident to me that the points that they get are coming from those midfielders more than anything.
I mean, another thing as well, since Cully suggested it, I'm probably going to do it since obviously it worked out with Bruno and Mahrez. So yeah, fair play.
I'll check Cully's score at the end with bonus to be added. But because what a week. That's one way to do it. But yeah, his XG has been the highest by quite a long way, double anybody else's. So he has scored 2 goals as well. So his XG has been 2.44 and he's scored 2 goals.
Do you think City will take a long, hard look at their transfer policy at the end of this season?
In what way? What do you think? What do you mean?
Well, they sold Jesus and Zinchenko to Arsenal on the probably looking down at Arsenal a little bit. And like Bal says, I think, Jesus, obviously, we've all been impressed from at the start of the season. Zinchenko has been brilliant for him. So do you think they'll actually look, do you know what, we can't be as arrogant as we've probably been. And we need to look at maybe not selling it to any top 6 team.
I think you've made a very good point. I thought you were talking about people they were bringing in then. But yeah, of course, yeah. You forget that Jesus and Zinchenko have both. It's almost like Arteta's gone to Pep. Oh, we're mates.
Yeah.
Can you sell me these two? We'll try and make top 4. I think Arsenal fans will also fully admit this. They've surprised themselves by how good they've been.
Yep.
And they've surprised everyone by how good they've been. But yeah,
they've done nowhere near on the same scale, but they've kind of done a Leicester, haven't they?
I think it's like Man U with Arsenal, because they've got Partey, and he makes them tick. Because they used to have Xhaka there, and obviously even as an older midfielder is a liability. And I think everything comes through him. He breaks up play, and he nearly scored an absolute worldie in Derby as well. And I think that's the base. It's like Casemiro. So it would have been nice to see them two play each other, but obviously he got booked. But
I do agree, Cully, by the way, just on Nketiah, touch of the Darwins, but he still has scored 2 goals in Nketiah. Yeah, again, if you bring it depends on your team structure. If you want to play 3 up top, then yeah, that's fine. Again, you have that Pereira as your midfielder. You don't want to spend too much money up top with your team structure, etc. But yeah, I think you're right, Scott. I mean, you shouldn't sell to to your rivals. You're the big teams in the Premier League. I mean, they sold Sterling to Chelsea. You know, there's a lot. I think you're right. I think they'll be doing it again. So it's an excellent point. Thoughts on Ings, Trossard, and Chelsea spending, lads? January transfer window. Scotty,
Ings, very, very good. The sort of player they need. They need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. And he's proven he'll score goals. He'll just get injured. So it's one of those, isn't he? Trossard, I think we mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
that kind of strength and depth that they're going to need. So again, I think that's a really, really good bit of business, and they've jumped on that at the right time. And who was the other person you said?
Chelsea's old.
Just Chelsea's
a new
team.
Chelsea.
I think they're all going to flop.
Chelsea spending so much money, it's actually a little bit sickening.
It is sickening. It's like they're just throwing money just at problems, aren't they?
They're all young, aren't they? So, but end of the day, you've got to find your feet in Premier League. You can't buy all these players and then they go, oh, well, they're young, they're going to build into it. The next season to be great, but you ain't got time with that. They're
just doing what United did, and it doesn't work. We've had that way too many times, to be honest. It isn't good enough. It doesn't work. You can't just throw money at a problem. Quickly to review position by position. Pope, De Gea, and Leno's crept in there as well. Kepa, obviously, and Ramsdale in terms of goalkeepers that have performed really well since the World Cup. Defenders, we've got a couple of Newcastle defenders in the top area here, as well as Man United. Wan-Bissaka looks a man reborn. I think he's such a good defender. It just going forward has always been his weakness, but he's actually looked all right. He's keeping his place. He's 4.3 million for Man United in defence. But Burn, Trippier, Shah, all these guys have done really well. Serge Aurier, there he is, creeping up with his one goal, which has put him in there. That's a bit of a random defender that's done really well. In terms of midfield,
same with Bolly though. Bolly's done all right with Forest. Didn't play obviously the other day.
Injured? Is he injured though?
Yeah, that's the thing. Same with Awani as well. He always scores at home for some strange reason.
Yeah. Well, sorry, but Forest got like 100 players anyway.
Yeah. I'm probably going to buy some more as well. Probably.
Cooper's like, right, okay, this game week I'm going to play these 11 people. This game week I'm going to play these 11 people. He must have to think of so many different tactics. It's ridiculous. Midfielder-wise,
can I just say something really quickly, Alex? Sorry. I know Leeds fans won't like to hear this because they don't like him, but what a breath of fresh air Jack Grealish is. He just doesn't. I don't know if he's been media trained and he didn't listen, but he's amazing. He's just having a good laugh in his interview. And he's got Mahrez there just chilling with him. He's so wholesome. I love the guy. Carry on, midfielders. Who's been performing best?
I like it. Well, we've talked obviously about Jesse Marsh, Solly March, Rashford, Odegaard, Fernandes. James Ward-Prowse is having his little moment, guys. James Ward-Prowse always has a couple of really good games a season, and just in terms of fixtures, Villa, Brentford, Wolves next three. Anyone fancies doing something a little bit weird? Solly March. James Ward-Prowse is having his few games. Elise, I think he's probably the guy. Yeah, we'd buy him if he was the Palace guy that you get into Palace. Willian creeping in there, Buendia as well, and Saka. And then Podence has scored a couple of goals, hasn't he? Where's
I'm surprised he wasn't on there, to be honest.
Oh, it is. He was a point off. He was 11th on the list of 10. But Podence for Wolves, he's looked like the main man under them. Now, don't get me wrong,
it's like Gray for Everton, isn't he? Everything comes through him.
They've got City and Liverpool next too, so I won't worry about him too much. But game weeks 23 onwards, they've got Southampton, Bournemouth, and then Fulham is still a tough game. But Southampton, Bournemouth, and Fulham that next three. He's someone to keep an eye on, and their revival under Lopetegui. And then let's have a look at the lovely forwards, which we've pretty much already covered all of these anyway. Just Ivan Toney to mention. Does anyone have any idea whatsoever on if he's going to get suspended or not, and when it is? Because I mean, he's probably going to get suspended by the sounds of the evidence. But when does anyone know when it's going to be? And if anyone in the chat knows, then let me know. But I don't know when the verdict was. I thought it was going to be in January.
It was. I think the deadline's gone and gone of him appealing the charges made against him, I believe. So I'm assuming they're just investigating it. It's going to take a hell of a lot of time to investigate, though, isn't it?
Yes, especially how many cases there were.
Yeah.
He's probably bribed him as well. He's thrown that in there as well.
He's probably having a bet on if he's going to go down or not.
Yeah.
So if you that was who said the
Gary
joke? Was it
Lineker.
Gary Lineker? Would have put his house on him scoring, but he probably did, or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was.
What a line that was! I loved that. I'm glad they could have a bit of a laugh because they already had too many laughs, didn't they, on BBC coverage of football recently? God, that was a burner phone strapped to the table, or whatever it was. The only other player that we haven't mentioned, I say Brennan Johnson, someone again for Forest that we should really have pointed out when we talked about Forest just then. But Kai Havertz has played and started every game for Chelsea since the World Cup.
Said it, didn't I?
Yes, yeah, you really did, Baz. He scored 2, got 1 assist, and he's got 24 points. He's outscored Haaland, obviously, before this game. But he'd outscored like Haaland, Ferguson, Mitrovic, Johnson, and Nketiah, and Brewer, Watkins. Like, the only players that had scored more than him were Kane and Tony. So, if you look at it, Chelsea. If you look at Chelsea's fixtures, not that anyone's going to be really backing Chelsea at this very moment in time because their form's terrible. They've got Liverpool and Fulham next too, but then they do go West Ham, Southampton, Spurs away, Leeds and Leicester. It's 4 really good fixtures in 5 game weeks. I feel, and James and Chilwell are back in training now as well. I can see the game week 23 trying to get Chelsea, a couple of Chelsea people in or a Chelsea player in.
There's that many to pick from, though, aren't there?
Yeah, but again,
you'll have João Felix will be back, and then you've got Mudryk as well. There's only priced at 7 million, so that could be a.
Yeah,
I think if you're looking at Chelsea assets, you really need to just think about what you're doing in your life. To be completely honest with you.
Oh dear. Well,
They're so predictable, aren't they?
You're not these next two, don't worry. Liverpool and Fulham next two. So Liverpool 12th in the form table, but Fulham 5th in the form table. So, and again, I've just done this since the World Cup, so I'm treating this as a mini season at this point. Yeah, I think they've been good. Cully said Scamacca injured. They play one up top, so tough to fit Ings, Antonio, and Scamacca.
Yeah, but it's going to be Ings.
It's Ings. It's always Ings. It has to be Ings.
The other two are performing so bad.
They've not signed him for any other reason.
West Ham Antonio on the wing, I suppose, couldn't you?
You play him right back again, can't you?
Yeah, you can play him anywhere. Stuff it. Got pace. It's like FIFA.
Don't forget as well, we've got Europe coming back, and Antonio was playing in Europe, wasn't
he? Yeah.
I just worry about West Ham down here, though. I mean,
they'll be fine. My boys will be fine.
Yeah. Well, they won't be in Europe though, which means Declan Rice will definitely get his transfer in the summer.
Do you remember when Everton are down 50 million for Anthony Gordon?
He doesn't even start now, does he?
No. He's awful, isn't he? Imagine anyone said he was good and to buy him. That's crazy.
Brilliant. So we've had some terrible shouts. I did Mora last year, Gordon this year. We're doing brilliantly, and lads, well done. So why we don't get the traction on Twitter like the other people do. So we don't have this really sexy graphics. Honestly, content that we create is so much better. Yeah, let's. Cully. Sorry, 12. There were 12th Liverpool in the form table. Just so you're aware. And
well, you know what? I thought I'd be celebrating out in time.
He's because he's I have got to have a quick look at the amount of points he's got. I just don't even look at the leagues anymore, because there's no point. 113 points with bonus to add, and I'm assuming Mahrez got 3. And did Haaland get
none?
Not did he get none? But Mahrez only got 3, right?
Yeah, Mahrez 3, Kulusevski 2, and another City player 1.
So 3 extra points, 116 points this week. Just absolutely ridiculous.
He's gone top, I think, hasn't he?
I wouldn't be surprised, because it was that sort of. I mean, compared to everybody else, when you look at the average in FPL, Dan was on 54. He's on 72. Yeah, that's 72. He's got no more points to add. Gully's 116. So, what's that in terms of difference? 16, 28, 34, 44. So 44 points better, and he was already 28 points better. So he's gained another 16 points on him. Not quite 4 points behind him, but very, 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 very tight at the top.
He started underneath me. I think I was 4th. had a nosebleed and must have fell off.
Well, talk about someone who had a nosebleed is falling off. Sandy Punjan, if you're listening, it's falling in free fall at the moment. If you look down, Scott, you're here.
Top 10. We're back. Come on.
You're
talking about top 10, mate. Look at this.
Top 35.
Top 26.
Oh, my mum's still out here. Hey, go on, Judy.
Do you know what she is as well? 62, and she's got another 18 points.
Oh, she's playing a bench boost. No. Oh, Thiago Silva saved that bench boost a bit.
I mean, 12 points on a bench boost in the end isn't that bad, but
who's this guy?
Who's this guy, Judith? Who's John Kamani Gordon?
Oh,
he's loaned out as well, I think.
Yeah, where even is it? He's at Carlisle United.
Well, he must have been playing Scunny over something like midway. Get points.
He's got 4.5. Get Willie Nonto in here at 4.5. Which 5 million in but yeah.
Yeah, in all fairness, close that.
Go on.
I'll be buzzing to get 12 points on my bench boost this year. So, do you know what? It's not the worst bench boost, Mum. Well done.
It's yeah.
If you're having words about Gordon now.
Gordon.
Might as well get Anthony Gordon in.
He plays less
I'd
than that guy.
rather have this Gordon in, honestly.
He plays less, I think, doesn't he?
I'd rather have Craig Gordon in than Anthony Gordon, honestly.
Oh, God. Is he retired now?
No, he's still going. It's in the Dutch second division.
He was at Hearts. Was it Hearts? Or was it wherever he announced his retirement, I think. But Craig Gordon was one of the oldest players in history of Scottish football. Any other things on fixtures? No, I think we've covered everyone off here, really. Everyone else that's really worth talking about. So let's have a look at the next game week. Deadline, Saturday the 21st of January at 11 o'clock. The early kickoff of the ultimate boring game, Liverpool against Chelsea. 0-0, all over it. Put your money on it. Cully, tell me what is in the chat and tell me also what the hell's going on with your club at the moment, because 12th in the form table is terrible. So yeah, let us know your thoughts. Bournemouth against Forest, big game. Then Leicester, Brighton. I'm going to read them all out. Why not? I've committed now. Southampton, Villa, West Ham, Everton, and then we've got the evening game, Palace against Newcastle. Then we get Leeds, Brentford, City, Wolves, Arsenal, United, and then we've got the Monday Night Football, Fulham against Spurs. Anything other than City at home to Wolves stand out to you in terms of captaincy this week? Trippier?
No.
Home against Palace?
No, I mean, everyone's going City at home, aren't they?
If you don't captain Haaland this week, then you never will, really.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, isn't it?
Mahrez. I say, yeah, Mahrez or Haaland. You're not going to look at Arsenal assets because the United's defence is too good. I'm not going to captain anything. Do you know what? I'm missing that game. I'm out wine tasting.
Are you?
Yeah.
That sounds lovely. We need to do another whiskey tasting, by the way. We need to get that. We need to get one of those. We need to get one of those set up. I'll get one of those booked in the diary, mate. I might have to treat you for these one, but yeah, I think
10 years in the making,
like 7. But yeah, no, to be fair, probably it might even be that long. But yeah, I can't see anything more than City against Wolves as absolutely terribly boring as it is. And then the game week after that is a Friday deadline on the 3rd of February. So probably won't be a podcast next week. It'll probably be the week after because it'll be before this game week deadline. And also we'll have all the information then at that point about who blanks in game week 25. We'll know who's through to the next round of the FA Cup. So it's not really worth doing a podcast next week because we'll be halfway between all of that information and we won't know the answers. So yeah, but for game week 21, very excited. Baz, you said a few different transfers. What are your transfers going to be this week? Do you think? Oh, he's sat back. He still doesn't know.
I'm looking at Forest's fixtures. All right, we've got two. We've got Bournemouth, and Leeds at home. I'm thinking Brennan Johnson.
Brennan Johnson.
He's only just scored a goal now from play.
I've got to have a Welshman in my team, I suppose, haven't
I? Don James?
Rather have Harry Wilson.
Cully says Liverpool aren't keeping a clean sheet. It's the early kickoff, and Chelsea are pretty rubbish as well at scoring goals, aren't they? So don't know. Who knows?
Havertz will score.
Yeah, you know what? Why not 1-0 Liverpool, 1-0 Chelsea Havertz score? We'll predict that.
That's the right battle for the Europa Conference League, isn't it? That
it really is. Should we have a look at the actual table just for
yeah,
because
Cully's too happy. Let's get the Premier League table on.
let's do it.
Oh,
So
not even there.
Keep going.
Hey! Ninth place in 10th. It's 9th v 10th in the early kickoff on BT Sport.
Chasing Brighton, Fulham, and Brentford down. How the mighty have fallen.
Amazing, isn't it? But yeah, Arsenal obviously still doing top end, lost one game, and Newcastle still lost one game as well. So it's exciting, and it's really, really tight at top and the bottom, isn't it? So, but right, we've rambled on a lot. Just want to double check the chat, make sure I've not missed anything else within it that's been put in there. Very enjoyable. Thanks ever so much for joining us this week, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and subscribe to our podcast from and follow us on our social media platforms. Audible Pod, Audible P on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Scott, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be back.
Barry, thank you for joining us too.
You're welcome.
And thank you to all of the people in the chat who've contributed, especially Gavin, Callum, and Cully, who have been chatting away all the time. It's been lovely. Lovely to have you. And we'll see you soon. I'll stop recording now for the podcast. Bye for now. And now I need to figure out how to end the live stream. Because this is where I
run all night, baby.
Hold on. Everyone, we're going to be. Should we talk about the highlights of the game?
I'm still 2 minutes in.
Right. Let's. Right, here we go. Stop live stream. Here we go. Excellent.